But the Democrats, too, they seem to just not be able to keep away from this here. There were some wild scenes a little while ago when a Democrat California Senator Alex Padilla, well, he tried to crash a press conference being held by Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem. Have a look at this.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your heads off.
Now, I mean, it's extraordinary vision there because the secretary is trying to speak. He's trying to basically charge. Security is trying to get him out of the room, and he's not obeying this lawful direction, and he's detained for 5 minutes. But now suddenly this has turned into Donald Trump's coming for Democrat senators and all of this. This strikes me as incredible grandstanding, Mick.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. Number one, he did identify himself as Senator Alex Padilla. Now, that being said, and I know this might be hard for folks in Australia to understand, no one knows who this is. Unless you live in California, you have no clue who this guy is. I do this for a living, James, and I could not pick Alex Padilla out of a lineup. I think he's only been a senator for a couple of months. So, you know, it's one of those don't you know who I am type of situations. What do they know about him? That he interrupted a speech that the Homeland Security Secretary was giving, and that he refused to obey the law enforcement when they told him to be quiet and put up his hands. You can't do that. So, yeah, by the way, as I'm sitting here, I'm in a television studio here in Washington, D.C., and behind my camera here, I can see other networks playing in the U.S. He's on all of them tonight. So he achieved his purpose, which he is now famous. I can imagine his staff is high-fiving each other back in the offices on the Senate side of the Capitol building, because he's going to raise a bunch of money off of this, and he's going to be now, for a short period of time at least, the face of the Democrat Party opposition of Donald Trump. What did we just say about Gavin Newsom? All the Democrats now want to be seen as the face of the party as they challenge Donald Trump, and he is for the next 24 hours, and then it'll be somebody else.
Well, well done him. Well done to all involved, I guess you can say. Hey, let's talk about some other serious stuff here going on, too, because, you know, we've spoken about the tariffs and all of that, and we were supposed to have in the United States all sorts of hyperinflation, with doomsayers predicting that the Trump tariffs would stoke inflation. But the statistics this week revealed that the Consumer Price Index only rose by 0.1% for the month of May, which was lower than expectations had it. Mick, what do you make of this? The tariff situation here does not seem to have created the massive depression and inflation and chaos that many people had feared and warned about when he came out and gave those Liberation Day levies on basically the entire world.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the Trump administration is applauding this, saying, "Look, we told you there'd be no inflation because of the tariffs," and it's certainly been the case. I've encouraged them, both publicly and privately, to sort of go easy on that. We still remains to be seen whether or not there is some inflation in the supply chain. Still remains to be seen whether or not a lot of the purchases that took place before the tariffs kicked in, a lot of retailers bought a lot of stuff in the weeks before the tariffs kicked in. In fact, our trade deficit went up dramatically about 2 months ago, and then it went down last month. So it's a little bit early, I think, on this one. Certainly, Trump is taking a victory lap, because a lot of us, myself included, thought that we might see increased inflation, increased consumer prices by now. We haven't yet, and let's hope that we don't.
Well, yeah, no, look, I agree with that completely, but it is interesting. You know, we were just talking about all that grandstanding by Alex Padilla. Well, other Democrats are grandstanding on this. I want to play for you an outrageous, kind of hilarious moment when, at a hearing, Democrat Congresswoman Linda Sanchez tried to play the sexism card in a congressional hearing with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Have a look at this.
We've already seen that prices are rising on many everyday goods.
Congresswoman,
please don't interrupt me. The time is mine. The time is mine. Please don't interrupt me. I will ask you questions, and I will grant you an opportunity to answer them, but please don't interrupt me during my time.
With pleasure.
Okay, I know I'm a woman, but please try to limit yourself to answering my questions. No, I'm sorry, but we get talked over all the time.
Mick, I don't know what was better there, the look on Scott Bessent's face when he was levied that charge at him, or the groans from the audience in the gallery as she even said it. Why do Democrats, Mick, constantly have to play the victim?
Because that's what they're selling. That's what they're trying to convince you that you're a victim as well, and that maybe you'll vote for them if you feel like you are a victim as well. Look, I know Congresswoman Sanchez. I've worked with her for many years. It doesn't surprise any of us who know her. It went over like it's all sorts of off-color things I could say about how poorly it went over in the conference room. Scott Bessent did a great job. No one could watch that video and think that he was being sexist in his commentary. So it doesn't help the Democrats. They're floundering right now, James. They are. They don't know what they stand for right now, other than they don't like Donald Trump. They are really, really struggling for a message, and my guess is they're never going to find it from Congresswoman Linda Sanchez.
Yeah, well, I think we do know, Mick, though, that the Democrats really don't like Donald Trump. They've made that pretty clear. But, hey, before I let you go, got to ask you about AUKUS, the big submarine deal. Now, there was a lot of upset and confusion here in Australia this week when there was an announced review of the AUKUS program, but others I've spoken to say, well, this is just part of a broader review of the national defense strategy in the U.S. that's been brought forward to August this year. Do you think AUKUS is in jeopardy, or do you think that maybe this could be a bit of a negotiating trick by the Trump White House to get Labor and the Australian government to finally do something about our anemic defense spending here in Australia?
Yeah, James, I saw this and tried to pay close attention to it. You know that I work with Joe Hockey at his Bondi Partners as a senior advisor. So this came across our desk very early on. Here's what I'm looking at right now in the early couple of days after the announcement. This is not that at all unusual for a new administration coming in to review the policies of previous administrations. Don't forget, AUKUS came in under the Biden administration. Keir Starmer did the exact same thing, for example, in the UK. So I think, I'm a little concerned that maybe Trump is having second thoughts, and a little concerned it might be leverage. But I'm not jumping to that conclusion yet, because again, this is more ordinary course of business with a new administration coming into Washington, D.C.
Yeah, no, I think that's about right. Mick Mulvaney, thanks so much for joining me on the U.S. Report. See you next time.